Okay, now we're back at the very first segment of the show where we have our guest in the house. I will not waste too much time because there's a lot to discuss on this segment. We're looking at state of the nation. There are a number of issues that affect the nation Nigeria today. We've got the issue of leadership, which we mentioned, Alera and I discussed when we were having a chat earlier. We've got the issue of petrol, PIB, and so on. Everything to do with the petroleum, with our crude oil and our petroleum industry. We've got a number of issues with aviation. We've got a number of issues with different things
Power
in this
supply.
country. Power supply is another one.
Absolutely.
All of these things become the state of our nation. What is it that gives us the greatest concern? Because you can't really pick up one. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through most of them and let us see what the issues are, what the solutions are, and whether we can have practical solutions that would make the government, the federal government and the state government, and possibly local government as well, to begin to look at these issues and find and use the solutions that we will prefer from our conversation here. So, joining us in the studio this morning to discuss the state of the nation, we have on my extreme left Mr. Sam Emefiele, who's a social analyst. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise. And then just sitting next to him is Chief Willie Ezugu, who is the Secretary General of Conference of Nigeria Political Parties.
Thank you.
Good morning and
Happy New Year, all
welcome.
of us.
And then just on my right-hand side is Mr. Babatunde Badamosi, who's a public affairs analyst. Good to have you again on Sunrise this morning.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure.
Good. Let's start with you then, since you're the last shall be the first, they say. We have problem with power supply. The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria was on an international television worldwide and was seen to have said that the power supply we have now, majority of Nigerians are happy with it. Are you happy with the power supply you're getting? And do you have any hope that it will improve before the end of this year? Because the President stated categorically that he promises, that's his word, promises that before the end of this year, it will improve significantly.
I think that the power supply situation in Nigeria is one that we all love to hate. Unfortunately for Mr. President, he's now, I think in my opinion, he's now experiencing what previous presidents, especially I think President Obasanjo in particular, was infused with a lot of optimism from successive ministers of power and power advisors that the problem would be solved really soon. Mr. President has fallen victim of the same cartel, I think, of people, all sorts of vested interests in the power sector, diesel peddlers, generator merchants, cable thieves. There's all sorts of people who prefer to have us in the situation that we're in now. And it is these same people that go around whispering to incumbent presidents that, look, we're going to solve this problem anytime now. Just give us a little more money, and a little more money, and a little more money. And I think that President Obasanjo eventually nailed it down to the fact that everything was in the public sector and headed in the right direction with the NARC Act, which is still subsisting, and which I think that President Jonathan should pursue vigorously if he's serious about giving us power. I think that the sack of the previous power minister, the last power minister,
Was said to have resigned.
I think that it was regrettable.
I said he was said to have resigned.
Well, yes, but we all know how these things work.
Did he jump or was he pushed?
We don't know, so
But
we
that-
will
that's-
he fell.
take the official
that's a
line,
question that he'll
which
have to
is
answer himself.
He resigned.
But the point is, he left that seat. In my opinion, he shouldn't have. I don't think he should have been forced to leave. I don't think he should have left. I feel that he was brought to that position primarily because of his exploits in the power industry. He was in that industry already as a player.
He was on to a good thing.
Yes, he was already a player in the private sector. And that's the reason why he came to the attention of government. And government decided, well, that's what I like to think, and government decided to put a square peg in a square hole in appointing him. Now, the man declared his interests. I don't know what more he could have done
Okay.
in order to make it transparent. But be that as it may, he's left, and because I want to believe that because he's left, the negative tendencies in the power industry have the upper hand again.
Okay. Let's take it one notch, and let me ask Chief Willie Ezugo. From your perspective, you travel around the country, you go to the east, you go to Abuja, you come to a place like Lagos quite frequently. What is your thoughts about the decision of the federal government to unbundle how we manage the supply of power? We now have power generating companies that are bidding and expectedly to be generating power. And then we've got the discos that are going to do the distribution locally, and they're going to be confined to a specific business space within specific communities where they supply. What's your thought on this? Do you think this is a solution that will endure?
Well, thank you very much. You see, we'll save time without number. The leadership in this country as a whole does not have the interest of Nigeria at heart. If they do, I don't see the reason why, up to this moment, from the $16 billion spent during Obasanjo's regime, no person has been held responsible for that money up to this moment. And if you check how much that had been budgeted again during President Jonathan's regime, nothing have happened. Now they are going to privatize most of the things, which they have done.
I beg your pardon, Chief. You said nothing has happened. But the president said that we're enjoying about 16 hours a day of power.
Okay, thank you very much. Am I not in your studio now? What are you using in your studio now? Is it not just genset?
Generator.
Okay. This is what you told the CNN. I'm a Nigerian. I came in from Abuja yesterday. And I can bet you, if Mr. President will stand before the CNN and start telling people that both even the civil society will agree with him that they have improved in power in Nigeria, it's very unfortunate. It's quite very, very, very unfortunate. I left University Town in Nsukka last week. Everywhere was in darkness. I left for Abuja, the same thing. Then I'm in channel television this morning, and people are using gensets, and you are now still telling me, Mr. President said, what have they not been telling us most of the time? Which one have come to pass? The basic thing is that they have privatized again, and the new people in power have been able to bid and budget all over again. And that's our problem, whether any person like it or not. It's hard to believe, but at times, you just have to say simple truth. So as far as I'm concerned, we are still where we are. Just like my friend Badmusu said, the mistake they must have done, call it that he resigned or was sacked, is the last power minister, who was at least trying to do as if something is happening. Today we've gone back.
Something is happening.
Try to do as if something is happening.
Okay.
Therefore, the moment we have the kind of leadership we are running, where a lot of cover up in all corners of governance, we can never get it right in any sector.
Okay, let's ask Sam Emefiele. What's your thought? Do you think we have a solution being implemented in the making?
Thank you very much. I want to say that I would rather start reacting to what you both said, because You asked him one question at the onset. Is he happy? And
Are you happy?
in response, I want to say that I am even happier.
You're happy with the
I am
electricity
happier with
supply?
the supply we're having at the moment.
Okay. Where do you live?
Right now, I live in Ogudu area.
Ogudu area.
Yeah.
And there is
So
power
your power
supply.
has improved.
Definitely, that is the word.
Oh,
There's an
okay.
improvement.
That's good.
You see, the
Do you have 16
situation,
hours a day?
it is not necessarily saying 16 hours
Okay.
because I don't spend 16 hours in the house.
In the house,
Oh.
okay.
So I wouldn't know, but I want to tell you one thing.
Okay.
There are periods where I have had to come home. I have had to turn off my freezer, and I have to leave it for hours in order that the materials inside will thaw because they have been heavily frozen.
This is as opposed to the times when the food in the freezer did not freeze for 3 days.
That's right.
Okay.
So, as
it's
far as I'm
improved.
concerned, there is
Okay.
improvement.
So there is
I
an
can tell you
improvement.
further.
Yes.
In those days, I used to always run to my gen set to put it on. But I have not used, this is frankly speaking, I have not used my gen set since October last year. It's
Wow.
there. It's there. I haven't used it.
Let's all move to Ogudu, please.
If you mind, you're highly welcome. This is
Okay.
the truth. You see, if you say the president said
Ogudu is the
12
second villa.
12 hours or whatever,
That's
the way you are taking it
actually
is
right.
as if the president said we're having 24 hours improvement. That is not what he said. And if he said so, as I'm here, I will say no. But believe you me, the decadence we have had in power generation, electricity supply in this country did not start with the current regime. It took a long time, right from the military era. And if all the items, infrastructure, left, right, and center have been either neglected or seriously destroyed, damaged, without care, I don't think President Jonathan has the magic wand to do it overnight.
Okay, talking about magic wand, do you think the unbundling of our power supply business, do you think it's likely to work? We have generating companies, and then we have the
Transmission
discos,
companies.
transmission company, and then the distribution companies.
I do not, at the moment when we say PACN, they have these various departments within the same system. And I believe that they have worked. That was why the various departments have been in existence, independent of each other, and rather of one another. However, unbundling, like you said, for instance, somebody generates, another transmits. I do not see.
One distributes.
Yeah, generation, distribution, and transmission. I do not see any problem the way you seem to be envisaging it.
I do not envisage. I'm just asking the question whether you think that's a solution. But you think it is a solution and you can't
I
see any
honestly
problem
think
with
so.
that. Okay, that's good.
Let me, before we leave power, let me quickly swing to Mr. Wadamosi. If you think back, I think it was 2001 when late Bola Ige was Minister of Power, and he did promise us that at the end of that year, the power problem would have been solved. That is 11, 12 years ago. What do you think is responsible that in spite of the determination of the government at that time to solve our power problem, 12 years on, we are still at the point where we were at that time, in spite of all the determination of government?
I beg to disagree. We're not still at the point we were at that time. We have moved on.
Okay.
We now have several NIPP power plants
Okay.
set up, and a few of them have begun to inject the power into the
Grid.
national grid. So we have moved on from where we were. As to the late Chief Bola Ige, you will recall that he died in December of that year. He was killed in December of 2001 after making that pronouncement.